Welcome to the February 2025 Board of Aldermen meeting. Mayor McDermott is currently out of town, so I'll be running the meeting as the Mayor Pro Tem, and I'm Tom Leonard. The first thing we're going to do is the invocation, and Alderman Ostrowski has that. Please remain standing afterwards for the Pledge of Allegiance.
You can bow your heads. Bless this town. Bless this town, and may it remain a beautiful and friendly place to live. We pray that this board makes fair and informed decisions this morning. We also pray that our police officers, firefighters, and members of our armed forces here and around the world remain safe as they risk so much for our security. We also pray that our town be spared the ravages of hurricanes and other natural disasters, and that everyone associated with the town remains safe and secure. Amen.
Amen. Please join me in the pledge. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right. Next on our agenda is the approval of the agenda.
Mayor Pro Tem, I'd like to amend the agenda to include the AP check listing that was inadvertently left out of the consent agenda.
Okay. Manager, you good with that?
Yes.
Okay. So is that your motion? Do I have a second?
Second.
Discussion? All in favor?
Can I just ask one quick question to Mike? You're not taking it out of the consent agenda, you're adding it to the stuff in the consent.
That's what he said.
To add it to the consent agenda.
Okay.
Yeah.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Next up is the manager's report. Take it away, Alice.
Good morning, everyone. First off, the beach projects and operations. The Army Corps of Engineer project is in progress right now as we speak. They notified me that they were starting to conduct dredging of the Atlantic Intercoastal Waterway and channels to Jacksonville and place beach-compatible material along Phase 1 shoreline. It was on January 28th. They reported that before the before dredge survey came in at 77,805 cubic yards, so slightly less than what they anticipated out of the possible 88,000 they had in their bids. So they anticipate at this point, with the feedback that I have, that they're still placing sand, but a little bit less than what they originally thought. The Phase 4 project, 150,000 cubic yards of the project was contracted to be substantially completed on or before January 1st, 2026. That was, again, at the contracted rate of $38 per cubic yard. The contract, which included mobilization, demobilization, as well as performance and payments bond, totaled $5,796,572. I received notice from our engineer that the contractor could be wrapped up with this portion of the project in February, therefore requested change orders for additional 70,000 cubic yards of sand to be placed along Phase 4. These change orders were reflected in the consent agenda at today's meeting for consideration and approval, and those totaled $2,676,084. Fran has indicated that it's anticipated that the sand could reach the entirety of the Phase 4 area. I just want to reiterate, it's not a dune project, but a project that places sand on the active part of the beach. They'll continue to haul this season to the extent they have dredge sand available. Any balance in the contract quantity will be hauled and placed in fall of 2025. There's a possibility that they complete Phase 4 this season. However, there's absolutely no guarantee. So I can't stress that enough. I don't want to get conveyed to everyone that for certain that they will be there and then they can't for various reasons. That's the plan as it is right now, but obviously it's always very fluid and changes continually. There's also one remaining change order pending for approximately 10,000 cubic yards of sand that's going to be relocated from the previous contractor's stockpile. So you'll have that pending as well coming up. Potential tropical cyclone number 8, which was the unnamed storm. The recovery scoping meeting was held on January 10th. Many representatives from FEMA and the state were in attendance at that meeting here at Town Hall. Weekly meetings have continued and will continue as required. I have 2 meetings scheduled for this week. One site meeting was requested to view the Marina Way crossover. I'll actually be on site with them tomorrow, starting here and then moving on to the Marina Way crossover for them to look at it and document and take pictures as well. I've relayed to the board that FEMA indicated that the town needs to move forward with the IFB for the project, which is an invitation for bid, and the obligation of funds will follow. Fran is finalizing the IFB. He anticipates to have that completed next week. So I would like to, I've asked him to include language in the invitation for bid that a contract will be awarded based on funds obligated by FEMA. Because obviously, you know, we don't know if they'll officially obligate the funds yet. We have no assurance that they will, and just the state of FEMA being in flux right now as an agency. So all that needs to be taken into consideration. I would like a consensus from the board that you're comfortable moving forward with the IFB as soon as Fran has it completed. That way we're not wasting any time. We have relayed to FEMA that it would be ideal to get a project initiated this spring based on the current conditions, specifically in phases 1 through 3. Should a project be initiated for PTC 8 this spring, it could affect phase 4 progress depending on sand and contractor availability. So again, these are all moving parts that kind of change on a daily basis, but right now I would like consensus from the board to, if you're comfortable with moving forward with the invitation for bid once Fran has that completed next week.
Okay, so you just want us to go around the room and give you a head nod?
Yes, please.
Okay. Connie?
Yes.
Mike?
Yes.
I'm in concurrence. Laura?
Yes.
Just a quick question. Dollar-wise, it's less than 2 million, right?
Yes.
Is that what we're looking at?
It's, yes, 2 million.
And they've indicated we would bid it out saying we'll get reimbursed by.
Okay, so it's unanimous.
On Villa Capriani, we have contacted NCDOT to request a pre-construction meeting, which was our understanding was the next step in that process. They've given us approval to move forward and relayed that the meeting is not needed since we use TAPCO as the vendor. We have contacted TAPCO just to confirm that and requested a construction timeline. Once I have everything in writing back from them that we are good to go, then I will, and confirm their schedule, I will post that on a project page and make the announcement of when the construction will take place. Solid Waste Services, a request for proposals was issued and the deadline for submittals was January 3rd, 2025. We received proposals from GFL, Wall Recycling, Tons of Trash, and East Coast Consolidated. Per the RFP, the Solid Waste Committee met, which was comprised of 2 staff members from each of the towns, which consisted of us along with Surf City, Holly Ridge, and the town of Topsail Beach. It was determined that GFL was the lowest responsive bidder. We are in the process of preparing a memorandum that outlines the recommendation, and it will be presented at the March board meeting for board consideration. I also have a meeting scheduled next week with the GFL's contract representative.
Okay, thank you, Manager Darian. Any questions from the board for the manager on her report?
Yes. So Alice, at the March meeting, when we present this, will we know prices to individuals at that point?
Yes, and I emailed the cost fee proposal to the board. That was in my January 17th update. That outlines all the fees that they proposed. The one thing that I did ask for feedback on was if the board wants to possibly consider a bulk pickup for residents. That cost, any associated with that, that would be planned for in next fiscal year's budget. I've already been going back and forth with the vendor on that, on what a potential price is. Because they quoted it at $146.25 per truck hour, plus we would pay for the disposal costs. So my question was, what does that equate to? Give me a high-end cost of what that equates to so we can plug that into the budget. They feel that it'll probably be in the $3,000 range
Annually?
per pickup.
pickup.
So
So if
whether
we
you
wanted to
decide
do
to,
quarterly
if you want to
bulk
do a
pickups.
spring one,
Okay,
or if you want to do a spring and fall, then that would be double.
Okay.
But you'll have that option to consider with this. The GFL was the lowest bidder. We did put into the contract, it will be put into the contract, there's a lot of penalties that'll be in place for the hauler, and some of the haulers did not necessarily agree with that, but it was all relating around service, and if there's missed pickups, it gives us a mechanism to go back to the hauler and make them accountable and pay the citations.
okay. All
So
right,
it behooves them to not have missed pickups, essentially.
thank you.
Okay, any other questions from the board for the manager on her report? Okay, thank you, Alice. It's a good report. Next on the agenda today is open forum. Citizens have the opportunity to address the board for no more than 3 minutes per comment on any issue upon which the Board of Aldermen has control. I want to reiterate per our standing ordinances and procedures for our board that it's for the citizens to speak to us, but we don't engage in a back and forth dialogue. Who signed up, Alice?
Jonathan Edmonds, 547 New River Inlet Road.
So please state for the record your name and address, even though the manager just did.
Thank you. Jonathan Edmonds, 547 New River Inlet Road. Just let me know. You should have a clock back there. Does it start? Or all right. Good morning, everyone. My name is Jonathan Edmonds, 547 New River Inlet Road. I sent the town manager a proposal for a project, a small project, to create a path from my residence to the park. Right now, the traffic in that area, and since I'm a 27-year disabled veteran, my mobility issues are starting to creep up. So I'd like to put in a path there and have you maintain it once it's put in. Right now, like I said, no safe way to get there. The dedicated path will alleviate a lot of the town's safety concerns around that area to the park, including speed limit, safety, mobility, access. I've already talked with Cam. I've gotten affirmative approval with that. DOT has provided guidance, and the town manager has reached out to them. I've already secured a contractor ready to work. And again, this is for north of the project going up. I'm proposing, no cost to the town on this. It's a win-win solution for the residents. It's 500 feet about going in there. I anticipate the key benefits of the town: $3K in increased tax revenue to your coffers. That you can use to further expand the town northward. Increases safety there. And it also ensures safety routes for our residents, disabled, seniors, and children when going to the path, going to the park. Also, it will increase the ADA improvements, town compliance with ADA improvements around the town. It also provides fairness in town infrastructure spending. There's a south path, but not a north path. So it ensures equitable distribution of tax revenue. And like I said, minimal cost to the town. I estimate $500 per month in maintenance on that path. It's a $2,500 gain to the town. I'm asking the town to approve my request to provide the town manager by entering a three-way agreement with the DOT, take over maintenance and repairs once it's constructed. Again, by maintaining the path, the town gains a fully built infrastructure, additional no cost, while creating a safer, more accessible route for residents. This is both a short-term necessity for myself and my neighbors and a long-term investment in the town's future. Thank you. I would like to take a second to thank the town manager. I had no idea how much you had going on, so I appreciate you taking up a small project. So everybody should thank the town manager after all that report. So thank you very much. Thanks for your time. Any questions?
Thank you, Mr. Evans.
Thank you.
No? Okay. Have a great day.
Anyone else signed up, Alice?
Yes. Bob Gherkins, 142 Ocean View Lane.
I think we're turned on now. I'm Bob Gherkins, 142 Ocean View Lane. I'm here on behalf of Ocean Sound Village, of which I am president. I bothered you folks last meeting about the question of Phase 4 and whether or not it was going to get to us, because we're at the very end of Phase 4. And since that meeting, the town and its representatives have been communicating with me. I appreciate their communications. I'm sorry I've been such a pain in the neck, but sometimes you got to do what you got to do. Looking at the communications I've gotten and your consent agenda, it appears that we should be optimistic you're going to get to our area before the end of this winter. And the only caveat seems to be whether or not there's an allocation of some of the workers and some of the sand to the dune work on 2 and 3. And I guess my request is that if in fact the town decides to do that, which I personally think would be unfair because we haven't got our first set of sand, that we get notified of that so we can then proceed with our own funded project to do some work on our dunes. If you are going to get there, we're fine. If in fact it starts to slip and you're not going to get there, we'd like to know about it. Because we did in the past, after Florence, did a self-funded over $100,000 of dune restoration within our community. So that's all I have, and I appreciate your time.
Thank you, sir. Anyone else, Alice?
Yes, Shane Bordis, 13 Osprey Drive.
Good morning, everyone. I'm Shane Bardis at 13 Osprey Drive. We're a maritime community, and there's a maritime phrase that's a little bit of rudder a long way out is better than a lot of rudder close into the rocks. And I see rocks coming, and I'm putting the board and the town attorney and the town manager on notice for what amounts to at least the appearance of impropriety. We have, again, twice now had NCDOT come in and recommend 35-mile-an-hour speed limit. You've had closed sessions discussing it, not available to the public. You've demonstrated that you haven't had the same pressure from people not wanting the speed limit changed as we were able to demonstrate. So at least case you're putting lives and well-being at risk. You're also opening us up to litigation. I've sent this to Richard Grant, and this was to the past attorney too. There's case law to support that. You're opening us up to possible litigation. You don't need a good reason to sue someone. It's still going to cost us a lot of money. The other thing is, again, if we look at the agenda for today, we have the meeting, then we have a closed session, and then we have continuing business. The only reason I can even imagine you would do this is to try to ram something through without public comment. And that thing being a pretty big nut, which is $278,000 for 6 months of accounting work to GWI Tax and Accounting. This should be a role, and was a role, filled by a full-time financial officer prior to this. At what cost? Certainly we could get someone in for that. So I see a lot of financial mismanagement and misdealings. We're outsourcing everything. We don't have employees. We have a town manager making 200% more than the salary.com recommended salary for someone in that position with that degree of experience. And it looks like self-dealing. I'm not saying that's what's happening. I'm saying it has the appearance of impropriety. And I'm tired of hearing stuff happening in closed sessions without availability for public comment. So I say the course correction time because my next steps are talking to the media, and the media has been talking to us. Several local media news outlets are talking, and social media, of course, which is where a lot of this fight has been, and none of you have been present on, with the exception of Tom Leonard here and there. We got Tom Leonard in, he's mayor pro tem right now, and he wasn't even elected alderman. So it just looks very, very sketchy and deceptive to me. I'm not saying this is going on, and Mr. Leonard, I appreciate your service to both the country and to the town. But there is a certain level of impropriety that just looks bad. I'm not saying there is anything bad, but it doesn't have a good look.
Thank you, Mr. Bartis. Your comments are part of the public record.
Anyone else, Alice?
Mr. Anders, 136 Seagull.
Good morning, all. I'm Mr. Anders, 136 Seagull Lane. I want to reiterate what Mr. Walker talked about last month about beach access up at northern end. First off, I'd like to thank whoever the person that pushed forward the steps on Access 45 to get redone. So we don't have to walk quite as far, but it is a little walk for most of us to have to get to there and get on the beach. So whoever did that, it's great kudos there because we were walking over a quarter mile to find to an access mostly. The other thing that's happened since 45 got done, I've met 3 or 4 people that actually live in Dolphins Cove. And we've talked about the issues on the beach as my walk and stuff like that has occurred. And they told me at one time the bathrooms there and the parking lot there that's not being used for 3 years now, they had an HOA meeting where they wanted to put it up for sale. One person that lives actually on the new area on the road out there opposed it because it would block his view to the beach. Well, all 3 of these people said it'd probably be a good idea for us to relook at buying that property, and nobody would build on it. Nobody blocked that guy's view. We'd have a restroom and a paid parking lot area for the North Topsail Beach area, like the rest of them mostly have down south of that. I know the mayor has land on that area. She's in the HOA, I believe, so she maybe can spearhead this. But I think we need to probably look at that as one of our answers to getting that access back at North with a parking lot and bathrooms and a walkover that would take care of a lot of our problems up there for the people that live there. Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else signed up?
Yes. Kevin Finger, 17 Osprey.
Good morning. Kevin Finger, 17 Osprey. The only thing I'd like to reiterate, just waiting on an answer on the 35-mile-an-hour speed limit that was brought up middle of last year. And people are asking, you know, in their neighborhoods around, and we just want to be able to give them a straight answer. Thank you.
Thank you.
Anyone else?
Anyone else?
No, that's all.
Anyone from the audience who didn't sign up want to speak? Okay. That moves us on to public presentations and hearing, and it's Coastal Engineer Monthly Report from Fran Way.
Hello, can everyone hear me?
We can.
Yeah, we got it.
Hi, Fran.
Hey, Fran.
Alright, hello. I'll just get right into it. I'll start sharing my screen. And a lot of Alice has done a really good job at going over most of these items, so I'll just touch on them briefly and add on to what Alice said. So here's just a quick overview of the entire North Topsail Beach oceanfront shoreline. At New River Inlet, we have the Phase 1 area, and then the different reaches of beach, also referred to as phases 1 through 5, and with 5 down near the Surf City town limit. As you can see, the town has been planning, recently done, or has in the future has plans to nourish this entire section of shoreline. Phase 1, the Army Corps of Engineers is now working on this area. That is just at the beginning of that project. And then we also have the PTC, and I'll get into some of this in future slides, the PTC 8 stuff, and then the disposal area 143 beneficial reuse, that's in a year from now about, and then the state grant that's ongoing, and the recently completed Phase 5 project. And just to build on what Alice has said, the Corps has been, this is a Corps project, and the Corps has been coordinating with Alice. I also reached out to the South Winds guy, the South Winds dredger, and I just forwarded that. They said they have a booster pump issue right now, so they have not been doing. He said they only put about 4,000 cubic yards of material onto the beach so far, so that's really not a lot of material at all. But so hopefully when they get that booster pump fixed, they will be able to place some materials and make some significant beach. The dredger was not, he didn't seem, because of the 80,000 cubic yards, it's not a whole lot of material, and that area is putting material in that area. It's a very dynamic area, one of the more dynamic areas with the near shore. He does think that they could probably build a little bit of beach, but he did not seem terribly optimistic about building, more than 1,000 feet of beach. And so hopefully we get that, and they get that booster pump fixed. And I will continue to check in with him. And then obviously the Corps has been pretty good with checking in with Alice as well. But we'll see how this goes, and we will build on this for the invitation for bid, the IFB that Alice mentioned earlier. Here's the completed FEMA dune mitigation, beach mitigation in phase 5, and actually it did get into phase 4 as well. The beach held up well, and it held up well at PC8. We did not see a whole lot, actually it showed some accretion following that storm system in September. The state grant is going well. The project is getting ahead of schedule, which is a good thing. This is beach, and it's not a full-on, we're not going to build up to the top of the dune, but we can kind of fix some of that scarped out area on the lower dune area. But this is mostly, as Alice mentioned, this is mostly a beach nourishment and not a dune nourishment. We can put a little bit of dune in there, but we can't go all the way up to the crest of the dune.
Hey, before you leave, Fran, before you
Yes.
leave that, you heard the
Yes.
question on phase 4, and I'm just trying to make it simple for my edification, and that is, you're going down the beach and you got a spot where the dune is not very good. If it's straight down, you're not going to pile sand in front of that because it's not going to do any good. So you're going to feather it in, basically. Is that what the plan is? So that there's, it's not going to be a drop-off cliff, right? You're going to try to feather it back into whatever the dune is, correct?
Correct.
That's fine.
And then this is the next slide. They're working really well. See, even right here on I submitted this 8 or 10 days ago, and it was 55,000 cubic yards placed. Now they're over 70,000 cubic yards placed. They're doing about 70,000 cubic yards a month, and that is good. For planning purposes, we were hoping they could get to 60,000 cubic yards a month, and so 70,000 is obviously ahead of that. And then last year, with some of the stuff from the previous contractor, he was only getting about 45,000 a month. So the productivity here is really good, and so it is getting us, it's giving us a little more time. So if everything works out, we have no more ice storms and things like that, we are optimistic that we can complete this phase 4 nourishment this season, and work on that phase, the phase 1, 2, and 3 dune restoration. But as Alice mentioned, and she put it really well, we can't make any guarantees, and then there can be other kind of just unknown variables that we could encounter. But so far so good, and the material looks really good, and the project is going really well.
So does that include getting the normal extension we get at the end? I mean, they're not going to want us coming back out again in the fall to do a little bit of work, right?
Right. Yes, but then yes, and that does not include the extension into May. And then the extension into May, but their productivity does go down when we hit May because it is a truck haul, and just the amount of traffic on the beach and the beach goers, it starts affecting the productivity a little bit. So it is the kind of the dead of winter for North Carolina, for North Topsail, which is not really, it's pretty mild, but still it that's when the productivity is the best. And in May, it does get affected a little bit. But Alderman Grant, you are correct that this is not including that, a 2-week extension into May. And we've done that before, and that is really good. It gives us a little more flexibility in trying to finish out some of these projects. Then there's a biological opinion, a state biological opinion, and a FEMA state biological opinion. And so we still have to work with some of that for those extensions, but
Okay, but
yes.
in lay terms, you're optimistic even without the extension is my question.
Yes. And then this is the disposal area 143, the beneficial reuse and placement of material in phases 1, 2, and 3. And this is a large nourishment. This is, between 1.9 and 2.6 million cubic yards of material. This is reusing this disposal area. This has been in the last few years, the disposal area, this is not a new concept. It has been done, decades ago. But the Army Corps of Engineers is reaching capacity at a lot of these disposal areas. So they really want to try to get these to be usable again for dredge disposal. And for now, there's a lot of good beach compatible material in this disposal area. So this is one of those projects that is state grant eligible. And so that's a wonderful thing that, this can be paid for mostly by the state and not by the town. So this is a great project, and it's a big nourishment. And obviously the phases 1, 2, and 3, they do need, obviously, phase 4 and phase 5 got their large nourishments, and phases 1, 2, and 3, this is that large nourishment that we want to put for this section of beach as well. This is potential tropical cyclone, PTC-8, that the town qualified for public assistance, as Alice mentioned, and so I'm just repeating what she said. But, we have been meeting, we have been moving forward. We met with the FEMA team. FEMA brought in environmental historic preservation folks. They brought in, other staffing folks. They brought in their coastal team, and I spoke with the coastal team. I am working with the FEMA coastal team and trying to moving this forward. And I have, and that is Bob Glasson. I'm working with him. He's very familiar with the beach. He did the Florence mitigation, and he did the Dorian mitigation for North Topsail Beach. So that is good as well. And, I'm trying to get this moving forward as quickly as possible, realizing that we do want to try to get this dune restoration project online here, in a month from now, or 6 weeks from now. And then here's just more for the PTC-8 phases 1 and 2. Those shorelines, especially just south of Topsail Reef condos. This area, it needs, definitely, we want to try to get some sand out here. And then down here, this is in the Marina Way area. We really want to try to get some sand out here in this dune. It's not a huge amount of sand. It's about 60,000 cubic yards, but kind of anything will help. And then actually, this is in terms of production rate and the 60,000 cubic yards. We should be able to get this out there if we can get everything aligned. And it is tough with FEMA and then FEMA processing, and even with the new administration, some things kind of being shaken up in FEMA. We're not sure, and we have no control over that, but we'll try to do everything on our end.
Just real quick before you leave that, this is what that's the one I asked Alice about. So FEMA has said to us, go out, get the bids, which we by consensus are fine doing, and they've given us a nod and a handshake that they'll do it depending on what comes back in, correct? This is a dune project only, correct?
Yes, but they also caveated that, and they mentioned the CRC, and it's not the CRC that we're used to. Do you remember, Alice, what their CRC, it's up in Washington, D.C., because they kept mentioning the CRC.
Yeah, they questioned specifically about how much of the project would be in Cobra, and that we would need to consult with Fish and Wildlife as well. So we have to work through that, through those arguments as well.
Okay, so more complicated.
Yes, very, very complicated, yeah.
Yes, and
They
then
did
you
say
have to run
that-
things up. Yep, go ahead.
But, I mean, Fran, when Fran and I spoke, we met after our meeting, and it was relayed to me that you went through this process following Florence as well, and they were agreeable to working with the town in the past.
Good.
Yes. So, yeah, yes, but obviously there are many moving parts even within FEMA. It's a large bureaucracy. It could be streamlined, but hopefully we'll just see what happens. But we are planning to this, and we told them, we let FEMA know that we plan to do this project in this April. And so hopefully that helps them keep their timeline expedited. Just a quick update on the Town Beach project updates. The core project, they are, as Alice mentioned, about 80,000 cubic yards estimated. They haven't really started yet because of that booster pump issue. So hopefully we will see some beach being built here. And then usually when they do start, and then it usually is only about a 2 or 3 week project. Assuming the booster pump and all the equipment works and they've got good weather. So we'll see, and that should, hopefully happen here in the next few weeks. The New River and Inlet Management Master Plan, EIS, Mayor Pro Tem Leonard, I did ask for an update from Dial Cordy. Dial Cordy was not terribly responsive to me. I did talk with Steve Dial earlier this week, and he did say they were working on it. They did ask for some updated analysis from us and from the coastal engineer. I did get that to them as quickly as I could because I do not want to hold them back. But it did seem like that there was the EIS development did languish there for a month or 6 weeks, and they weren't terribly responsive. It does sound like they are back, but I reiterated that they needed to update that timeline and get that to the town. Steve Dial said he would do that. I'm not sure if Alice or anyone else has had any communications with him. The state grant nourishment, 250,000 cubic yards, that has begun and it's going well. It's getting a little ahead of schedule, which is good. The PTC 8, we have that 61,000. For the IFB, we probably will keep it about 60,000 cubic yards, and that's what we will bid out that project. And hopefully, if there's a little bit more, we could probably change order that, but we don't want to go too big on that initial number for the invitation for bid, the IFB. And then I'm also working with FEMA on the cost, the dune analysis, and then obviously the bidding. The DA 143 project, that is the longer term project that, they're trying to get, there's just investigations are ongoing and then permitting will occur. And then I'm continuing working with the North Topsail Beach, the finance officer and Alice, DEC Associates. Obviously the town has, a lot of different funds and Alice is doing a great job at just making sure that everything's allocated in the correct bin of money or going to the correct fund mechanism. But it's a complex project and there's lots of different moving parts, as Alice mentioned. And then as a part of that, there's that grant coordination and then obviously with permitting coordination as well. And the CAMA permitting has been pretty responsive, and we're working with them. And so that is the update.
All right, thank you, Fran. From the board, any additional questions? Connie, Mike? Okay, Fran, you brought the New River Inlet Management Master Plan EIS back up, so I will too. Are we at a point with this where we could go back to Dial Cordy and ask them to provide us with a deadline, with a due date, a projected completion date?
For the entire project.
Right, for the EIS.
I think they should be able to update that timeline, yes.
We've been
And
chasing,
obviously,
yeah,
I hear you.
we've been chasing this thing for several years. And, to use your words, it keeps getting put off. I would like us to see if we could have them provide us with what they can establish as a deadline. I don't think that's asking too much at this point.
Tom, you might want to remind people what that is.
It's the environmental impact study that's tied to the hardened structure at the New River Inlet. And it's the first step in some sort of a permanent solution to our erosion problems at the north end of our town.
Which has been going on for years.
Yeah.
Yeah, yes, and I think they should be able to give us a timeline of when the draft environmental impact statement can go out. And obviously, when they submit this thing to the Corps and the Corps has to review it, it is tough because we have really no control over the Corps' timeline. The Corps does have their own internal timeline. So,
I understand that.
I do think we could have some intermediate steps there that they can fully be expected to meet.
Well, what we're talking about right now is what is the deliverable from Dial Cordy, correct?
Yes, the draft environmental impact statement.
Okay, so if we could maybe try to get them to give us an idea when they think they'll be done. It's not much different than when you take your car to the mechanic for an oil change and ask him if it's going to be done at 1 o'clock.
Could I ask a comment? So, Fran, at this point, would you like the board to make that request to them, or is that something you feel comfortable doing?
I would actually prefer the board. Technically, the town has signed the contract
Correct.
with Dial Cordy.
Okay, then,
So,
yeah, so the board
So-
can look at sending them a letter asking for the schedule update.
So Laura, Mayor McDermott, manager, and myself have been having regular meetings with the core person charged reviewing the draft EIS. So we are getting good feedback from the Corps. It's the fact that the Corps is not getting the revised last 2 chapters of the draft impacts statement revised and back to the Corps review. But the Corps has assigned a person dedicated to doing the review work, and she has been very prompt in her review. She just doesn't have the material to review.
That's the issue.
Yeah.
That's the issue I'm trying to get.
That's why Tom wants that.
That's
Right.
what
So,
we're
but-
trying to solve today.
But a request in writing
Okay.
would be good from the board.
We can work on this with the manager, possibly the attorney.
Yep.
I don't want to go down a
Yep.
a nasty path. I just want to remind them that, look, you guys are holding up the progress here. And to Mike's point, the Corps of Engineers can't review a study
If they don't have.
that they don't have the study to review. So,
Okay.
anything else for Fran? Thank you, sir. It was a good report. It was good to
Hey.
see you.
thanks. Good seeing you. Thank you.
All right, the next thing on the agenda is the consent agenda. Do I have a motion to approve the consent agenda?
So moved.
I have a question on the police department's report.
Does that mean you want to take it out of the consent agenda?
No.
Second.
Okay, discussion? Discussion? All in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries unanimously. All right, next up is new business, and it's the North Carolina Beach Inlet and Waterway Association 2025-26 legislative goals. It's got my name on it. Can we put that up, Ricky? I'm on the board of directors for North Carolina Beach Inlet and Waterway Association. Their goals are here. They are, as you would expect for an organization like this, Coastal Storm Damage Mitigation Fund, update the beach inlet management plan. It hasn't been updated since 2016, which is a separate agenda item that we'll talk about next. What we're looking for here from the board is a motion to support the NC Byway 2025-2026 legislative goals.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Discussion? All in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Passed unanimously. Next up is the Beach and Inlet Management Plan. Specific action, again, this is mine. Motion to approve resolution to support Beach Inlet Management Plan, or the BIMP as they call it, funding. This document was last updated in 2016. It provides a lot of information to include information on what economic effects beach communities bring to the state. And what we are looking for here is a motion to approve a resolution to support having it updated. And the update is going to be with NC Byways going back to the state legislature asking for $500,000 to have it updated. Do I have a motion?
So move.
Second?
Second.
Any discussion?
This is really an important activity by Byways because they will compile information on coastal development, and it has increased greatly since the time the last report was done. So the state really needs to come up with the money for the revision update of the BIMP plan.
Just real quick, Tom.
Yes.
I think a point that both of you guys made. This is not about us funding anything.
No.
This is about us supporting them going to get funding for the
This
state.
is us
So it's
asking-
not money going
yeah.
out the door,
This
it's
is-
money coming in.
Asking the state legislature to pay $500,000, up to $500,000 to have the study updated. The biggest issue with this study, one of the things it does, and there's actually a piece of paper in the study, Ricky, the study itself, that document that I had you download, it shows the economic value of all the beach towns. Okay, if you go down to here, down to North Topsail Beach, about halfway down there, you look how old these numbers are. This is the last time this was updated. This is everything from jobs that are created by the tourism here. It's important. It's important that our representatives have a good idea and a good picture of what an economic engine a beach town is, especially a town as small as ours. So hopefully we'll get this updated, and we're asking for it to be updated on a recurring basis, I think every 5 years, and hopefully we'll be able to use that to leverage our electeds when we need something. So without any further discussion, we'll go ahead and call a vote. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Passed unanimously. All right, next on the agenda is the Topsail Island Shoreline Protection 2025 Advocate Goals, and that's Alderman Benson. Take it away, Mike.
Thanks, Mayor Pro Tem. Ricky, I don't know if you can put that document up from the meeting packet or not. If you can't, that's fine. I'm handling this from the board member on behalf of the vice chair of the Topsail Island Shoreline Protection Commission, who is sitting in the audience, Mr. Larry Streller. We are going to all three towns and the 2 counties that are involved in the Topsail Island Shoreline Protection Commission to get an input that their elected officials might have in the 2025 goals for both our state advocates in Raleigh and our federal advocates that work for us in Washington. Rather than go through all of these one by one, I'll just say that we have had these mostly as recurring goals. There's not anything really new from last year. One thing that we did add last year was to become more of an advocate for sustainable insurance rates. This is a coastal issue because of the storms, potential storms, Florida storms, everybody's paying the price for these storms, whether we live in Florida, North Carolina, or California. We are paying the price. Unfortunately, the rate did not increase too much for Onslow County this year, but we're hoping to continue to advocate for reasonable insurance rates.
Pretty standard.
Yeah, it's pretty standard things. I don't know if the board has any input, but if you do, we would like to get this back to Larry Struther so he can take it to the next Topsail Island Shoreline Protection Commission meeting, which will be February 20th. Is that right, Larry? Yeah. Yeah, February 20th. So if you don't have anything right now, get something to myself or to Larry to consider when we have the finalization of the goals at the February meeting. The other thing I'll mention is I also included in the packet the accomplishments from last year. And again, I'm not going to go through those, but we did make a really strong effort with COBRA last year. Thanks a lot to Mayor Pro Tem Leonard. And one thing that did get through Congress was the 2.5 acres of Barton Bay is no longer in COBRA, so property owners there now are eligible for federal flood insurance and other federal benefits that are available to people that don't live in a COBRA area. So if you haven't had a chance, you might read over those accomplishments as well. That kind of concludes my report, unless there's any questions.
Any discussion or questions for Mike? Okay. Because of that Barton Bay exclusion ought to come off of federal goal B, because it's a done deal. It's been signed.
I'm assuming that it's an iterative process anyway as you go through the year. You can add or subtract. I mean, it's a general thing, but as you see stuff, you guys change it. Correct, Larry?
What we do is we want to give our state advocate and our federal advocate a set of goals at the beginning of the legislative session, which has already started both in Washington and Raleigh, that they can be working on during the year. But yeah, we can update our goals, but usually we try to give them a pretty definite set of goals to start the legislative session off with.
Okay. Next on the agenda,
Do we need a motion on that or no?
there's no motion required, correct, Mike? You're just asking for feedback no later than
The 20th.
feedback for Larry to take back to BISAC or to TISBC no later than the 20th.
Right.
Okay. Mike did mention our COBRA efforts, and I will brief where we are with this session during my Alderman's report. Next on the agenda, new business item D is Beach Inlet Sound Advisory Committee vacancies. There are 4. The applicants so far are, or the applicants for this are Mike Benson, James Smith, Ian Gertis, Larry Struther, Hannah McLeod, Stephen Newbern, Charles Walker, Jacob Smith, and Phil Fowler. If any of those folks are in the audience, would you please raise your hands? Who was that? Mike. Mike.
He's out there.
Okay. Alice, the way for us to do this is you're gonna hand out we're gonna.
Each member has paper in front of them and a pen. So if you want to write, per the policy, it has to be written. So if you want to write your 4 candidates on a piece of paper and send down to me, and then I will tally them up.
Does it need to be signed?
Yes, please.
Okay. Neatness counts, folks.
The only thing I would note while we're filling that out is thank you for putting the spreadsheet together that talks about what phases and stuff they're in. Mike and I talked about this before. Everybody that's applied is 5 and 1, even though we've got Larry's laughing because it's hard getting 2, 3, and 4. Thank you, Terry. So just note those, if you will, on the spreadsheet.
pass them down.
please.
Thank you.
I put me in 4 times.
You're not on the list.
I'm a writing guy.
Okay,
Mike
I'm-
didn't vet me, so I can't get it.
I'm just going to go through and read the results, and then I'll do a count. Benson. Struther.
You got 2 Smiths.
Yeah.
Tom. I don't know who's. Pass
Please-
that one down.
Any clarification
There's
on
two
which
Smiths.
Smith? We have 2 Smiths. Thank you. James Smith.
I'll take the ones you done.
And Ian Gertis. Okay. Benson. Larry Struther. Charles Walker. Hannah McLeod. Ian Gertis. Stephen Newburn. Jacob Smith. Charles Walker. Mike Benson. Larry Struther. Ian Gertis. James Smith. Mike Benson. Larry Struther. Charles Walker. Stephen Newburn. Okay.
Do you want me to give this to Chip?
Sure. Okay, we have 4 votes for Mike Benson, 4 votes for Larry Struther. There is a tie for, let's see, we've got 3 for Charles Walker and then 3 for Ian Gertis.
So they both get in.
Yeah. So we have, just to repeat, Charles Walker, Mike Benson, Ian Gertis, and Larry Struther.
James Smith. How many, Brendan?
How many votes did James Smith get?
2.
I did 2.
And Mike,
I
we're
counted.
not designating by phases anymore, right? Because it's,
Really can't designate by phase because we
Did I-
just
did I
don't
miss
have
one
enough
on Mr.
applicants
Smith?
from 2
Yes.
and 3.
Yes. What I see is 2 for James Smith and 1 for Jacob Smith.
That's what I have.
okay. Okay. You were right.
Okay.
Okay.
Okay, congratulations to those who were elected.
Do you need to make a motion?
Yes.
Need a motion to
Appoint.
appoint as elected.
I'll make
Oh.
that motion to appoint as elected. Do you want me to read the names?
Yes. Thank you.
Mike Benson, Larry Struthers, Mr. Smith,
James Smith.
Mr. James Smith, and Ian, what was?
The name,
Ian Gertis.
no,
Egan.
the names,
Let Alice read
No.
them. I'd have the town manager read the names from her tally, and then we'll incorporate it into the motion.
Okay.
Charles Walker, Mike Benson, Ian Gertis, and Larry Struther.
Walker, too.
Yeah.
In the motion. Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Next up is planning board vacancy. We have one regular member of the planning board. Applications for consideration are James Smith, Brenda Morris, Keith Wilkerson, Charles Walker, Kimberly Saylor, Gray Chapman, Jason Starr, Christy Barefoot, William O'Donnell, Cleta Jan Bellamy Jean, and Michael Tordo. If any of those folks are in the audience, would you please raise your hand? Okay. And you are, sir? Your name, sir?
James Smith.
Okay. The other is Gray Chapman?
Gray Chapman.
Okay, once again, everybody has a piece of paper.
Tom, just for clarification, we're just voting for the permanent member right now, okay? And could you note who the alternates right now are? Charles
Current
Walker and
alternates are
Keith Wilkerson.
Charles Walker and Keith Wilkerson.
So they're currently on the board as alternates.
Right.
Got it. Okay.
Okay.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
Okay. Is that everyone? Okay. Charles Walker. Gray Chapman. Keith Wilkerson. Keith Wilkerson.
Drum roll.
Charles Walker.
Is that a time?
Yes. 2 for Charles Walker and 2 for Keith Wilkerson. And 1 for Gray Chapman.
So you want to just go vote on those two again?
So we revote those two? Attorney?
Yes, I would revote those, the top 2 vote getters.
Okay.
I would say, and just for clarity, you said Keith Wilkerson is an alternate member, right?
Both.
Both are
Wilkerson and
alternates,
Walker.
actually.
Both those are alternates.
And so this is, so by moving one of them into the full-time,
We're going to have to go.
you'll then have
get
an
it.
alternate opening.
Right. And Tom gets to vote.
What?
Tom does get to vote.
You know, stay trying.
Chip, can I just ask a clarifying question so we don't have a problem with this? He's pro temp, not the mayor. He is allowed to vote? Okay, just want
Yes.
to make sure that we're clear on the record.
Yes.
Because we did have an issue with that years ago.
I researched that in our town ordinances before the meeting.
Charles Walker. Keith Wilkerson. Keith Wilkerson. Charles Walker. Keith Wilkerson.
Right.
So you have 3 for Keith Wilkerson and 2 for Charles Walker.
Okay. Need a motion to appoint Keith Wilkerson as a regular member of the planning board.
So moved.
Second? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
And Mr. Walker stays as an alternate, correct?
Yeah.
At this time, we also need to, from that same group of names, we need to choose an alternate. Another vote.
This is going to be interesting. Chip's like, please, not a 5-way tie.
Trey.
I'm sorry. Trey.
Okay, have everyone? Kimberly Saylor. Jan Bellamy Jean.
That's Cleta, yeah.
Brenda Morse. Gray Chapman.
Oh, this is gonna be interesting.
Jason Starr.
We have a 5-way tie.
One for Brenda Morse, one for Cleta Jan Bellamy Jean, one for Gray Chapman, one for Jason Starr, and one for Kimberly Saylor.
It is I believe Jason Starr is on the Board of Adjustment. He might be an alternate on the Board of Adjustment.
He is on a BISAC member, and he's alternate on the board of adjustment.
And so it's my understanding, and I can go back and look, but it's my understanding that you all don't have repeat members with Board of Adjustment and Planning Board, is my understanding.
Yeah, policy says that they should not serve on two boards unless the board approves it.
Okay.
Okay, so we're gonna do it again.
We're killing a lot of trees today.
Do you wanna go over those votes one more time?
No, just do it over.
I'm still looking.
This ain't Final Jeopardy.
Okay. Cleta Jan Bellamy Jean. Kimberly Saylor. Cleta Jane Bellamy Jean. Saylor, Kimberly Saylor. Gray Chapman.
Oh, we're down to 2.
Okay,
Two
so,
for Cleta Jan Bellamy Jean, two for Kimberly Saylor, and one for Gray Chapman.
so we're gonna vote for either one of the top two, correct? To break the tie.
Almost there.
Sure. Well, mathematically, it should work this time.
This is recycled paper we're using for our ballot, so don't worry about it, cutting down too many more trees.
Kim Saylor. Cleta Jan Bellamy Jean. Cleta Jan Bellamy Jean.
Drum roll.
Cleta Jan Bellamy Jean.
All right, so it's Cleta.
Okay, very well. I need a motion appointing,
So you have,
oh,
go ahead.
that was 4?
4 for
And
Cleta.
one, there's two for Kim Saylor and three for Cleta Jan Bellamy Jean.
Okay. So, I'd like to ask the board for a motion to appoint Cleta Jan Bellamy Jean as an alternate member of the planning board.
So moved.
Discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Done.
Tom, I'm going to vote. One and a vote.
Oh, yeah. Okay. The next item on the new business agenda is consideration of resolution 2025-03, local legislation to exempt the town from provisions of Part 3, Subpart 3K of SB 382 and to restore the original provisions of North Carolina General Statutes 100 or 160D-601D. And this is the town attorney. That was a mouthful.
So I've already discussed this with you all that last month, the General Assembly in the Hurricane Helene disaster relief bill included some provisions dealing with the State Enabling Act as far as local government's ability to initiate downzoning. And when I say downzoning, I'm referring to any type of zoning regulations for a commercial area or non-residential zone that would create a nonconformity, or any type of zoning regulations for residential areas that decreases the number of uses, decreases density. It greatly hamstrings local government's ability to have effective zoning regulations or government-initiated zoning regulations. There's a group of local government attorneys in the eastern part, and I know there's some in the Triangle area who are trying to ask for exemptions from this particular portion of that bill and reinstate the previous 601D, which allowed government-initiated downzoning. And so this is a resolution I'm bringing to you all to discuss, and if you approve, that you all execute it, and we'll send it to your General Assembly delegation. It's my understanding, just this morning I got updates that there are folks in the General Assembly who they've heard a lot of outcry from local governments about this, and they are working to rescind this portion of that bill. And so I do think while this resolution is asking for an exemption for North Topsail Beach, I think it adds additional pressure and support for just rescinding that portion of the bill. So I put that on for your consideration.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Discussion? The only thing I'll say in terms of discussion was that recently Alice and I attended a legislative breakfast up in Jacksonville for all the Onslow County communities. And State Senator Mike Lazar was there, and his words were it should have never been passed. Okay, and at the state level, at his level, they're doing their best to get this rescinded. So with that, I'll call the vote. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Passed unanimously.
County's doing the same thing, Tom.
Yeah, well, they were there too, so.
I'm saying no, but I'm talking about their wording.
All right, this brings us to our next session of open forum. Alice, we have anybody signed up for the second open forum?
Yes. Shane Bardis, 13 Osprey Drive.
Hello, everyone. Again, Shane Bardis, 13 Osprey Drive. I thought this was going to be after the closed session, so I'll withhold any further comment. Thanks.
Anyone else?
David Delsimer, 28 Osprey Drive.
Good afternoon. Thank you for your time. Dave Dowsmer, 28 Osprey Drive. I just want to raise my concerns about a section of New River Inlet Road that actually is just behind this building here that has a passing zone. It extends from the parking lot that you have put in, which sometimes is very busy and congested, and extends all the way down to our public park, where there's a basketball court, a volleyball court, playground area, and then additional parking. This area is a dangerous zone, one, because of the 45-mile-an-hour speed limit that exists. It goes around a curve and then is on a straight zone until it then levels out in front of the playground. And this is an area where pedestrians, bikers, and cars are coming in and out of either parking lot. Jeffrey's parking lot is extremely busy on the weekends. People are trying to nose out and get out, but it's around a bend. On the other area, people are crossing the street from one side of the parking to the other side to get onto the beach. It's a tennis court as well, and pickleball court. So this makes it a high-traffic area, and I'm just very concerned for danger to the pedestrians, the bikers, the walkers, and the cars that are coming in and out. I ride my bicycle, weather permitting, about 3 or 4 times a week, and this is a terrible area to come through. There is no area that is like this where you're going around a bend and there's a passing lane and the speed limit's 45 miles an hour. Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else? Anyone from the audience want to speak? Come on up. State your name and address for the record.
Jeff Meyer, 2224 New River Inlet Road. I need some audience, some alderman participation in my question. I'd like to know, of the 5 aldermen here, which aldermen or which aldermen up there were duly elected by the citizens of North Topsail Beach? Raise your hand, please. I rest my case.
Since you brought that up, on the 7th of November 2023, I received 137 votes in that election. Thank you. Anyone else? Let's go to reports. I didn't know I could speak, please. Name and address again for the record, sir.
Sorry. Jonathan Edmonds, 547 New River Inlet Road. I just wanted to let the town know that in researching the ADA, most towns have an ADA complaint form online. It might be a good thing to put the ADA complaint forms for the town online so that residents can make obviously suggestions to the town regarding access and disability before it rises to other levels. So, and I want to second, who was the one that said congestion? Yeah, the congestion through that park area is exactly what I'm trying to address in my proposal. So thank you. Have a great day.
Thanks for your comments.
Thank you. Anyone else? Going once, going twice? Go to reports. We don't have a mayor here today. I will do my report last as Mayor Pro Tem, as an alderman. Oh, I'm sorry, attorney's report.
No report. You covered mine earlier.
Are you sure?
Nothing to report.
Okay. Alderman's report. Connie?
Thank you. First of all, I'd like to thank Alice and her staff for all they do. We never have a off month here. There's always a ton of stuff going on. Secondly, I want to quickly address the accusations of board impropriety. Much of my career, I was in the media, and as such, I'm intimately familiar with the Sunshine Laws and Open Meetings Act. There are very few things that the board can discuss in closed session. We act strictly in accordance to the law, and we have the attorneys present to assure that we always stay within those parameters. Let me be clear. There is no nefarious things going on in closed meetings. There are no closed door chicanery taking place. That's it.
Thank you. Let's mix it up a little bit. Ladies first. Laura?
I'd like to thank all the citizens for bringing their concerns to the Board of Aldermen and to the town, and for being on the committees that help run our town. None of these positions in public sector are easy, and those of you that volunteer your time, we do appreciate. And we appreciate your signing up to be alternates or to be active on a committee. It takes a group of people to run a town, and we need community involvement for that. So thank you for those of you who threw your names in the ring, and we do appreciate all your work for us. I do know that all the Board of Aldermen take their positions very seriously. We always don't agree. All of us up here, to your points, we all don't agree on the speed limit issues. So, don't assume that all of us have the same opinions as well. And some of us live south of the police station. Not all of us live north of the police station. So we do have other concerns as well. But I want to thank you for those of you attending in person, and I want to thank those that sign in and look at the meetings online. That's it.
Thank you. Alderman Grant?
Just briefly, I think I mentioned this to a couple of you. I checked with the county at their meeting, and if you look at the forecast we've got in terms of revenues, I guess there's a blip that they saw this year in terms of the timing of the property taxes, but they are going to meet the needs, because if you look at the forecast for us, we would be short compared to last year. That was good. They did have a number of rezoning things that they handled. Thanks, people, for coming. The other thing I would suggest, too, is I know people do this online, but there's nothing wrong with showing up for the planning board meetings to be heard, or the BISAC meetings, or whatever. They're pretty open, and I know from serving on BISAC, it's really nice to have, as Larry knows, is to have people's comments as to where we're going forward on that, because that is so important to the town right now. That's it. Thanks for coming.
Alderman Benson.
Well, thank you. I appreciate those of you in the audience that have interest in town activities and came to our board meeting today. And congratulations to those of you who were appointed or reappointed to planning board or BISAC. That concludes my report.
Thanks, Mike. My report primarily concerns COBRA, but before that, a couple of things. First, to the board, thank you for your support in muddling through this for the first time today. Secondary to that, watching or being involved as the person who's going to run the meeting in the agenda process with the manager, I want to give her a round of applause, because y'all have no idea how much work goes into putting that huge agenda out, particularly these days that we don't have a clerk, and so thank you so much. We didn't get the COBRA bill through last session. That doesn't mean we've stopped. Where we are now is I have a draft bill from Congressman Murphy's office that we expect to have filed within the next 2 weeks. We are waiting right now on the bill to be response back from Congressman Rouser's office, so that he can be an original co-sponsor rather than a co-sponsor after it's filed. So Congressman Murphy's office is waiting on that. Congressman Murphy on the 24th of February has a meeting with two individuals that we've worked with before, one of whom was a lady from House Committee on Natural Resources, Anique Miller, who came down here a couple of years ago. She and another man, and a man named Doug Levine, who works in natural resources, to go through and make sure that natural resources is good with the bill, because that's the first hurdle, is going to be that committee. Ray Celeste, who's a legislative assistant in Congressman Murphy's office, has spoken with his counterpart, a man named Harrison Walker, over in Senator Tillis's office to attempt to get a companion bill on the Senate side moving at the same time. So things are happening. We didn't get what we wanted last time, but I think we're in a good spot this year because of the majorities we have in both chambers. And I'm doing something with this almost every day, if not every day, at least twice a week with the folks up in Washington. That concludes my report. I appreciate y'all coming out. And with that, I need a motion to go into closed session.
So moved.
Second. All in favor?
Aye.
Do you need to explain to us why we're going into closed session?
Yes, part of that motion, which is articulated in the agenda, is closed session pursuant to General Statute 143-318.11, sub A, sub 3, consult with an attorney, and sub 6, discuss personnel matters.
Need a motion to come out of closed session, please?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries. Attorney?
We've come out of closed session. No action was taken in closed session.
And we need a motion to,
So you have continuing business under this GWI tax and accounting agreement. I believe the board can take action on that or make a motion.
okay. Do I have a motion to continue that?
Yeah, motion to continue that.
So is the motion, Alderman Grant, a motion to table that agreement until the next meeting?
I would say to table that, period.
All right.
Second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay. I need a motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn.
Second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.